Salud.
Salute. Man, that beer doesn't stand a chance.
Thank you so much for being on here.
Okay.
Welcome, guys, another week of Drunk Republic. I'm your host, Victor Santana, bringing people together one beer at a time. And I'm here with the wonderful Barrett Tillman from Blackmanbrew.
Awesome.
So I've heard nothing but wonderful things about you, and you have a tremendous story. So people who don't know your background, can you get a little bit of it?
Yeah. I got into beer as a home brewer. I used to do IT web design stuff. Fast forward that, I started my own yeast company, won a bunch of awards, and now here I am just kind of bouncing around in the wind.
You're not bouncing around, it's a controlled bounce. But that's a really good.
It's a double dribble.
But you got to sometimes. You gotta do the Jordan thing. You gotta double dribble and not get called out on it. But that's insane. So you went from IT, then what made from IT making your own yeast? What was that?
Wow, that's a big jump. You gotta start with homebrewing first.
Homebrewing, that was the.
So as a home brewer, I used to brew with two other guys. It was three of us.
Oh wow!
And I was a yeast wrangler for those guys, and we would brew on Saturdays together. And what I had to do is prepare the yeast for the team, right? And
so you were really working.
Yeah, but we would all do separate beers. So each one of us was buying yeast, and then I was like, I'm having to grow this stuff up. I'm having to do yeast cell counts. I'm having to do yeast viability. Why am I buying yeast?
Yeah.
And so from that process, I just dived into yeast and got a better understanding.
That's insane.
It's kind of crazy.
That's insane.
And so at the time, I was still doing IT stuff. And my company would send me to remote locations to do like office turn-ups and remote modeling and stuff like that. And so when I would travel, I would try to bring a piece back, and that was in the form of fruit, in the form of grains, and then I would harvest the yeast off the grains.
Oh wow! Okay.
And then when I started to make homebrew, those yeast was the yeast that made my beer just so unique and interesting. And so when I pushed back from the desk, like, I'm pretty good at home brewing. I'll give it a shot in a commercial world, and I started working at Bishop Cider here in Dallas. Not too far from Small.
I was gonna say Bishop Cider is not too far from here. If I'm not mistaken, they're literally like a few blocks away.
Yeah, it's within walking distance. So I would be working the tanks over at Bishop Cider. Small Brew Club was for me, right? And it's definitely just a walk down Bishop. So I would walk over here after being covered in cider. I would sit down and these guys were putting in the brew pub. They were building most of the stuff themselves, and so my first love was beer. So quite naturally, I just kind of gravitated more on the beer side over time. Is that enough?
No, that's insane. You have an amazing story. You can talk about it all you want. It could be the whole podcast. It's just your journey. Listen, you have an amazing story, and I've heard bits and pieces from third parties. Just hearing it, your version of it, and actually from you is a treat. It's a treat. I'm gonna say you're well beloved from the homebrew perspective because people love your story, and then as like a beacon of saying if you have passion, follow your dreams.
Yeah.
And that's how the perspective from homebrew side of it. And then you just have you make phenomenal beer, so you have the fan side of it saying like you make really good beer.
That's good.
Let's
That's
be
good
clear.
to know.
Like everyone who's tried your beer, all the North Texas beer bloggers who had the chance to try it that I've seen, it's all been great reviews. Now there might be people out there who don't like it, but it's overwhelmingly positive.
That's good. I usually like to focus on the things that people don't like about the beers. The reason why is because like coming to the industry from a homebrew's perspective.
Sorry. Okay. We keep talking.
Yeah, homebrewers are usually constantly giving people their beer.
Yeah.
Right. And as a homebrewer in my homebrew club, I was constantly giving people my beer, and they'll be like, "It's free beer, we love it." well, they didn't say it was free, but I knew it was free, and I knew that that's why they loved it. So I started to ask the question, well, what do you not like about it? And then that allowed me to be transparent with the things that I was making, and also to be transparent with the users.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, because you don't hear too many people ask that question. What do you don't like about my beer, or what do you don't like about this style of beer?
Yeah,
that's a very introspective kind of conversation, because you're asking a person to really think about what's their off flavor, what's something that's not clicking in their head, so they have to think about it. And it allows you to develop more and figure out how to overcome that for a certain group of people.
Yeah, and it can be challenging, like to think that your beer is the greatest thing ever, but people don't like it, and to be in the industry where there's a lot of beer on the market, and to be looking for your own distinction, it can be daunting. And so what I like to do is just learn where people's palate may be. I'm still going to do my own thing, right?
You have to, yeah.
But like I like to understand where people's palates are.
That's a great position to be in. It might be tough, man. I can only imagine. It's like me, as far as the creator of the podcast, right?
Yeah.
It's for me to go to the group where people watch it. It's free content for people to watch it, because I'm not charging anybody. Then to go out to these groups and be like, okay, what do you don't like about a podcast? And that's a tough way, A, to listen to what they don't like, and then work on correcting it. Or try to at least not people's palates to like it a little bit more, Maybe it's something I'm doing that's majority of people just doesn't like this little bit about it, and I have to tweak it. I may not change the whole thing, but I might have to tweak it just a little bit.
And not going back to kind of my history with yeast, like I believe that yeast is free. I believe that yeast is in the environment around us. If we know how to harvest that yeast, we can use it. But we also have to be transparent with it. Do we like it? Why do we like it? What is it? Is it a yeast? Is it a bacteria? Is it a Brettanomyces? Is it something wild? And asking myself those same questions with the beers that I was making with these wild yeasts is really kind of where I got a better understanding of the world around and myself, And I think that kind of translates into the project that I'm working on now, because the project that I'm working on now is like an in search of project, right? I'm in search of what it means to be myself in a beer industry that doesn't necessarily look like me or have my same flavor palette or story, So it's interesting.
I didn't think about that. We talked about this off camera. We met a few weeks ago or a week ago or so.
Yeah, we were out. Where were you at?
I was over at Silverport just wrapping up a podcast with Teeny.
Haha, she's fun.
Yeah, she's hilarious. I call her the number one female disc golf player. She hates it. She absolutely hates it. But yeah, it was we had a really deep conversation about self-discovery, and I think that leads to your whole brand. That's amazing. I never thought about it like that though.
Yeah. I think that's the challenge when you're trying to mature in a world that's just fighting for your attention. Like fighting to bring you to places that you wouldn't normally go, as yourself. And so that's one of the big things that has caused me to want to do this project. The In Search of Blackmanbrewing project is a nomadic approach to finding business partners, right? Building community, creating with my friends, right? And to take that kind of staunch businessman approach to, I'm gonna throw my money at whatever sticks out of it, so that I can be artisanal, so that I can be myself in the industry that's vying for authentic, right?
It's very true.
Yeah, our industry is losing its authenticity, right?
What are we drinking here? What are we having?
Oh, okay. This beer is First Cello.
First Cello. Oh, that's part of your symphony. Yes.
Yeah. And it's a well thought of beer. The concept behind this beer is to look at the symphony, remove the first chair violinist, and to put in an instrument that I like. That's an instrument that's very moody, that requires a lot of technique and understanding, and that's the cello, right? And so I was modeling limoncello and how to use that in beer, and so first cello is the base beer to the rest of the symphony.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has a lot of citrus peel in it. It has orange peel, tangerine peel, and lemon peel.
I like all the things you just named right there.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited to try it. What I would like to say, there's these two hip hop or modern brother violinists and cello brothers. I like the cellos are Russian. The two
Nice.
brothers who play the cello, and they play all modern songs and like reenact it with the cello, which is phenomenal to hear that going down.
I'd love to hear that.
Oh, when we get done, I'll show you who they are. It's phenomenal to hear if you enjoy that. Just even if you don't enjoy classical music, just the reenactment, just with the cello of modern songs that you like now or you hear on the radio played with the cello is phenomenal. There's two brothers from Russia, and it's a beautiful thing. Then you got the
Totally
two
check it out.
hip hop violinists from Brooklyn. I believe they're from Brooklyn. If I'm mistaken, I'll correct it. But they're two brothers that have been playing since they were kids, and they do it with the violin. They do
That sounds
hip-hop songs.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people ask me, well, why not the viola? Well, because I like the cello.
Exactly. On that note, there's salud.
Cheers.
That's delicious. Now, what people may be shocked about it, if I'm not mistaken, this is it a saison or a sour?
This one is a sour beer.
Okay.
I call it a tart.
A tart?
You know, because definition of sour is kind of unknown right now.
It's really vague.
Yeah, it's kind of vague. And so tart is a little bit more approachable than sour. Typically when you say sour, people are thinking warheads or something like
Exactly.
that. Yeah. This one is a tart. It's a nice lemon
And I
tart.
like lemon. So I have a big problem. When I said I heard lemon in it, I used to eat lemons as a kid. I used to eat them like oranges, peel them, eat them. And it's super tart, and it's really acidic. It's bad for your teeth. Don't do it. But I really enjoy it, and this has a really nice tartness, which is not too bad. It's not too bad at all. It's not like eating a lemon at all. But it has a nice tart flavor to it that finishes out nice evenly with a sweet flavor in the background to it.
Nice.
And I like every bit of it. So, but I mean, by people,
So for your palate, where would you place the acidity?
not at all. There's not too much acidity to it, so it doesn't feel. That's how to describe. It's more closer to an orange, but it's not as sweet as an orange.
Okay.
As acidity wise. So when I think about acidity, I think of lemons.
Yeah.
Something that's super tart with a high acidity, but I enjoy it.
Okay.
Then this drops down to more closer to an orange, but it's not as sweet as an orange. So it's not really sweet to drink at all, but it still has that nice little somewhere in between there. Maybe a grapefruit. Maybe.
Grapefruit. Yeah.
Maybe.
Usually when I talk about my own beers, because I usually make sour beers, because my yeast product is focused on like the acid producers. So I tell people to think of it like this: taste it, you're gonna get the immediate shock, and then taste it again, and you're gonna be able to taste the depth that's there, because it is a shock to the palate. It's not sweet, it's not hoppy. It's a balanced acidic based beer, and
Balance is a great word. I don't want to cut you off. Balance is a great word. This is the best way to describe this beer. It's super well balanced from start to finish.
Yeah, and to be true to my line of questioning, what do you not like about the beer?
Well, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of like quote unquote sours. Like when people think sours and people make sour beer, they make it really super tart, whereas more like the warhead description you made earlier.
Okay.
And that's what I don't like, because when you do it just for that explosion, there's no real flavor behind it besides a shock to my tongue, and it's not enjoyable for me. I don't enjoy that kind of thing. So I'm not a big fan of style. So what this does to me is that I always have a bad connotation when I first try it. When I smell it, I'm like, oh, I can smell sour. So my head's already negative. So when I drink it, there's nothing bad that I could say about it, because to my palate, I'm already starting from a bad place, and it changed my temperament, where I enjoy it.
We may have some beers that
Well,
you
this
actually
base
don't
beer,
like.
this base beer is really good. Now, what I would say is there's always gonna be variants people don't like, and that's not a problem. You know, you don't have variants you like, but the base beer,
you can't please everyone.
No.
You can't please yourself 100% of the time.
I tried. God damn it, I tried. It's a complete failure. But this is a really good. If this is the base of all the beers, you know, you could only go up from there, and then it might be something you add that may not enjoy that extra tone to it or extra flavor to it.
Okay.
But that's okay. But this is a great start. Like, this is a solid base.
Well, I'm glad you like it. I'm definitely referencing a lot of things here, but I think that what I like the most about beer for me is it's a vehicle to tell my story, right?
And you said that earlier. That's a beautiful way to say it. No brewer has ever said that.
Yeah.
No offense to any other brewers. I don't mean anything about it. But no one's ever said that before. So what story are you trying to tell with this lemon?
I forget where we were at, but
What kind of story you wanted to tell with this your first cello?
I really wanted to make a beer that would identify with my mood, and like I said, I don't necessarily like the violin as much, and I wanted to pull in citrusy notes, right? I guess if I was going to be violin focused, it would be something that would be super sharp, you know. But the cello to me is a little bit more balanced and nuanced, you know. And so I modeled the base beer after that, you know, balanced, nuanced, you know, some deeper notes where it has some body, you know, like some higher notes where it has some aroma, some middle notes where it has, you know, like the flavor and presence of citrus, you know, and that's the base beer. Right?
Yeah, listen, like I said, it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal base beer, by the way.
But the story doesn't really stop there, because focusing on music and my love for music, I wanted to reference classical music. And so what I did is I pulled off at early stages of fermentation and late stages of fermentation in 4 movements to create the full symphony. So first pull, second pull, third pull, fourth pull.
Nice, okay.
If it was a symphony, it would be movements. First movement, second, third, fourth, you know.
I'm learning something right now.
Yeah. And then there's one more beer that I haven't released yet. It's going to be market number 11. It's the Etude, right? And Etude is a utter display of talent and skill.
Oh, I can't wait to try that one. I can't wait to try that one. I need to see this, experience this.
Yeah.
What I want to make you laugh about is I'm not well versed in classical music. I just grown to like it in different forms, mostly from the Young Brothers. When I was a kid, they were coming out, the 2 black violinists. They were from New York City. They were young. They played at the Apollo, and they made this like big entrance to classical music, but it was more on hip-hop classical music. So they wasn't really doing classical music, but they had the violin, and that's all I knew.
Okay.
So
was it an electric violin?
No, the classic violin.
Okay.
But they do play with also electric violin, so they have both in it. But when they went to the Apollo, they used the classic violin.
I can't say that I fully embrace classical music myself. There's some music that I like. Like I like Yo-Yo Ma. I like Joshua Bell. But I like the smaller set stuff, chamber music style, like the On Trio. It's a small group of sisters, really, really, really good. And then I like strange and esoteric musical collections. So usually when I'm digging through the crates to find vinyl, I'm going to pull something that I don't know. You know, that's going to be not Bach, not Beethoven, but you know, like something else. And that requires me to listen to it. If I don't like it, you know, put it in a discard bin. And if I do like it, then I'll keep it around. So music is just as much an exploration to me as well. Let me get this beer and we can try the next.
Yeah. What I was gonna say was gonna make you laugh is all I knew was the violin. So when I started hearing more of a full orchestra involved, and it had more cellos and different versions of like string instruments, I'm like, is that the violin? Is that the violin? Is that the violin?
It all really sounds like the violin, actually.
But I didn't realize. Now I can pick up a little bit more of the full bodiness of a cello. And again, this is from being me, because I know about music. It was a Jamie Foxx movie where he was a guy who played the cello.
Oh man, I love that one.
The Soloist, I think, is the name of it.
The Soloist.
I think that's the name of it.
I dressed up as Nathaniel Anthony Ayers Jr. for Halloween one.
Oh my
Since
God.
we're in the spirit of Halloween.
Yeah.
And it was great because I showed up at a party with a cello that had a bra wrapped around it. And that was a good time. Yeah, that was a really good time. All right, that one goes down in my memory.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised most people don't talk about the movie. I thought it was a really good movie. Now, is it a perfect film movie? Of course not. But I thought it was really good.
All right, so let me tell you about this beer.
Yes, sir.
This one is pulled off at the earliest stages of fermentation.
Okay.
And the same base, right? But what I'm doing over time is I'm adding more ingredients. So this one is ginger, right?
That's what I'm smelling. Okay, yes, sir.
And the ginger is aromatic, it's floral, right? I call this beer Cosmic Healer.
That's such a good name.
The reference notes is the wind chimes in the symphony, right? The wind chimes in the symphony are the things that you can never repeat. Every time you strike the chimes, you're going to get a different sound, right? So I'm taking that base beer and I'm bringing it up in the cosmos in a very kind of spiritual way, right? And in that era, in that notion, it exists.
Oh, that's phenomenal. That's a beautiful story, first of all. I can really smell the ginger on the second note.
Okay.
Like, that's what I smelled first, and it changes the smell dramatically, the ginger.
Yes.
So I'm wondering about the taste.
Okay. Let me read this thing, or maybe you should read it. You should read it.
I should read it?
Yeah.
Because I'm a genius.
We all are.
Connected to the stars from the crisp and refreshing with the aromatic ale fermented with medicinal rhizomes.
Yes.
What made you say that?
All right. So
That is profoundly beautiful for a beer.
nice. So this one named as Cosmic Healer. I wanted to reference the medicinal qualities of ginger, right?
Which has a lot of benefits.
Yes. And ginger is a rhizome as well as hops, right? So this beer has way more ginger than it does hops. So just kind of bringing those healing and cosmic spiritual notes into the beer, because we're gonna take a personal journey with the symphony. You know, usually like when you go to a symphony, it's going to be, you know, like music that's so far long ago that it's bringing back those times when life was simpler, right?
I do want to go to an actual orchestra, like classical music play. When the last time I went to the Dallas Symphony, I was when John Legend was here, and that was what, 9 years ago. And
that was a great show.
That was a phenomenal. You were there?
I wasn't there. I should have been there.
That was phenomenal. It was beautiful. It's the first time I've ever seen that many, and it sounds, again, I'm not really well versed in music, but that's the first time I've seen so many people on stage with so many verse instruments. They're doing so many different things, like working together.
Yeah.
I've seen jazz bands which you have like 10 people on there, and they're beautiful. There's nothing wrong against jazz. It's all beautiful. But I've never seen that many people.
Yeah.
In succession, working together, making phenomenal music.
I agree. I like the beauty of that. You know, like it takes creativity to be able to orchestrate that and to express on such a high level. You know, because most of the people in the symphony are very good on their instrument. They're not slackers, right? And they're also studying music that the world has forgotten about for the most part.
Yeah, that's unfortunate too.
And the styles of music are also some of the most healing for the mind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's some of the most difficult music that you'll ever see, and it crosses even into the sciences and mathematics, you know, in terms of what that music looks like on paper, you know.
Yeah, you really don't know how your mind interprets it, but you know your mind interprets it in so many vastly different ways. Your mind does so many weird things and so many wonderful things at the same time. And music and sound is one of the music and smell, I should say, is one of the few things that have a really positive and negative connotations to your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to uplift your mindset, you play music that makes you feel uplifting to your memory, or something that you find profoundly uplifting. And then if you want to be angry, you listen to music that makes you angry.
Nice.
And it changes your mood and mindset. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
We get the chemical responses to it, but we don't understand it. Like this, no one says they understand it. We really don't know how our mind works, but we get this reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful reaction.
So we're going back to the cello and why I like the cello, because it's so moody, right? And the music
mm-hmm.
that I like is also moody. I like to be able to find a music that can match my mood, right? And that's whether I'm driving or I'm reading. You know, one of my favorite musics or pieces of music to read to is actually the soundtrack for Gladiator. You know,
that's my favorite one.
Yeah.
I don't look like I work out, but when I do work out,
you work out to Gladiator?
Oh my god! Or if I could watch the movie. If I could watch the movie on like a treadmill or something, oh, when he gets to it, this is what you hear. I'm running at like 8. I'm running as hard as I can.
Yeah, you stand on the treadmill and be like, I do not entertain.
So good. It is so good. Because the soundtrack reminds me of the movie, and you can see scenes, the opening scene where you have there's really quiet, and there's a soft undertone of the orchestra coming in.
Yeah.
And the opening scene where you see him in the forest, and the fog is coming in. Like, I mean, I watched that movie way too many times. I've listened
I have too. Can you quote it?
No, not like I used to. Not like I used to, but
That's one of the classical movies for me. That one and Hans Zimmerman. Like everyone knows his music, and I have a light affinity to Pink Panther.
Pink Panther.
Those are great ones to read to.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I didn't even know what to go with that. That's really good also to work out to. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I'm not much of I have a hard time reading. Again, I have a short attention span. Okay. So I do have background noise when I do read, but I can do something that makes me feel I get passionate energy. Because I get that anger energy, I need to do something. I usually clean or physical activity.
All right, so you want to try the next beer?
Yeah. Well, I want a side note. I think this is a phenomenal beer.
Yeah, talk about it.
I think it's a phenomenal beer, but what I would say, if you don't like ginger, or you don't cook with ginger often, it would not fit your palate. I love cooking with ginger. I get fresh ginger. I usually shave it into whatever dish I'm trying to make, or some curry I'm trying to make. Always try to put some ginger in it, because it lightens up, it helps brighten up your dish, whatever you're making. Yeah. So I think that's what you're doing with this. It brightens up the base beer already.
It's the airy notes. Right.
Yeah.
It's adding the airy notes. And one of the things that I'm actually glad that this one kind of drifted away from is the spicy notes, right? It's not so spicy that there's a zing to it. It's all of the healing properties.
I messed up with ginger sometimes. You put too much and you feel it like, that's not good, man.
Fresh raw ginger with sushi is like perfect. But you know, to have that in the beer, it may be too much. It may be a reminder of ginger ale or something like that. So I'm glad that this one has a lot of ginger. So it's definitely dealing with the oils more than the pumice.
But also, I was gonna say, it reminds me of a better ginger ale.
Okay.
You ever had a bad ginger ale at a space? Like, you go to a place, like a upbeat place, like, we make our own ginger ale, and you taste them like, they put way too much ginger here. It's fucked up. Like, I can't really drink this shit. You gotta turn it back. This is a way better version of that, and of course it gets you drunk. So it's delicious.
All right, we're on the road then. Let me go to the next one.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna be a great journey.
I'm getting nervous because he keeps saying this. So I'm wondering what's this. I can see this last one here, and I see the last one over here is War Flowers.
War Flower. Yeah. So I'm going to put this one in a different glass.
Yeah, fair enough.
So think of the strike of the gong in the symphony. And the gong is like a big walk.
I'm getting nervous by the smell of it.
That one's a little heady.
It smells phenomenal. It has a lot. So what I would also want to appreciate is the smell to your beers. They have a lot to the nose. And it tells you the smell. It tells the journey. When you smell like, I'm not to knock any other style either or any other brewery, but when you smell like IPA, you smell IPA. Very rarely when you smell like, okay, this smells like this complicated. This smells like this thing's going on here.
Yeah.
I love stouts. Stouts smell like stouts. If it has peanut butter in it, you're gonna smell peanut butter. You know, if it has a really chocolate heavy like undertone, they want to make a chocolate stout. You smell chocolate. You know, coffee. You get those basic notes. And not saying the beer is basic, but when you smell it, you're like, okay, this is what I'm heading for. Let's see how it goes.
I think that's what I like about the beers that I am targeting and the beers that I like to make is they can be nuanced. You know, it's not a hop bomb. It's not a malt bomb. It's what it is, you know, and I have to accept it as a person. Like, I put so much ginger in here, it could have went super spicy, right? So I had to accept what I got back, right, because of what I put into it. And I do like beers that's very well balanced, that has aromatic notes, that have malty notes sometimes and hoppy notes, and I'm designing a beer that changes as it warms, that changes as it ages. You know, I think this beer, I say you can age this beer for up to 26 months, right? That's a long time.
That's a long time. That's right. 2 years basically.
And it's a beer with ginger in it, right?
I wonder what it'll be like in 2 years.
Well, you have to hold on to it and tell me what you do not like about it.
Well, see, it can go those different. So, salud.
All right, so now you have to read this one.
Oh, my wonderful reading skills. So, a savory blend of smoked chilies with culinary spices inspired by ethnic cuisines. This ale is for the adventurous, and this is definitely for the adventurous. I think this be paired. This has to be paired with food. This has to be. Mm-hmm. I do not just the first sip. And again, you have to multiple sips, right?
Yeah.
First sip, I really taste the curry. I'm like, oh, I wish I had food. Like I wish I had like Thai food or Indian food kind of dishes with me. I think it would pair wonderful with it just on the first sip. And now I'm going for my second sip.
Nice. But what I liked about this one is we're moving from the wind chimes, which is very airy.
Yeah.
And, you know, like usually when you see the strike of the gong, it's going to be a human experience. You're being brought down to earth, right?
And I think that
you may be with the Tibetan monks or something like that, you know?
It definitely brought me down to earth. Like I was really on the high, like the citrus flavors, you know, gets you really upbeat. And that ginger, the fluffiness, the airiness of the ginger beer we just had, that's phenomenal. I'm like, oh man, this is good. And this brings you down to fucking earth. Like this one.
Yeah. So this one is curry number 30, right?
Oh, why number 30?
Why number 30? Well, there is a famous basketball player, and his number is 30.
30, yeah.
Yeah. His last name just so happens to be Curry.
That's what I was going to. I didn't want to be. See, that's what I thought in my head, but I didn't want to be childish. I was like, oh shit, Steph Curry.
but we're referencing the symphony here, right? And we're referencing classical music, right? So strike of the gong, taken to a very spiritual place, such as Hindi, right? And in the different regions of India, you have different flavors from the curry, right? And this one follows the Grama style, and it's in the north. So you get more earthiness. It's not spicy, you know. It's not as turmeric forward, and so this one has a blend of about 30 different spices. One of the ones that kind of really sank in that I liked when I added it was the smoked paprika. And typically smoked paprika is not something that you would see in curry. So to build that beer and to see where it went was kind of like watching the the Indian classical music with people playing the timpana and all of these.
Which is a crazy thing. If
Yeah.
people haven't seen it, I'm gonna put like a little
It's
clip right
amazing.
here. It's the most insane thing you ever seen.
Yeah.
I don't know how people fucking play it.
If you can, try to find this musical instrument that's called the Vindal, I believe. It has a big gorg on it,
Okay.
and it's bigger than the sitar. It has
How can you get any bigger? Like, how big is it? Like
It's the size of
this table,
it's the size
right?
of this table.
I didn't want to overestimate, but
the sitar is the size of this table, but the gourd on it is small.
okay.
Remember, I like the belly of the instrument to be a little bit deeper because it has
More
more
sound.
moved, right? So this one wouldn't be the sitar, right? And it wouldn't be the wind chimes either, and it wouldn't be, like a small drum. It's the timpana. You get those huge riffs and deeper notes.
I will tell you,
Out of
you were
here.
getting big rips. Like as we were talking, I started feeling the wave of gentle heat. When you could feel the beer going down and the spices going down to my stomach.
Yeah.
Nice as a full wave of what I would say energy from when I drank it. Now I swallowed it and it's going down to my stomach, and I feel like this full wave is
Nice.
finally hitting my stomach, and it's good. But I'm trying to figure out so I can explain to what I don't like about it.
Yeah,
I do
definitely.
not.
Tell me what you.
I do not enjoy it as much as the other two.
Okay.
Now, what I would say for me is, 'cause I think the other two is very inviting, very fluffy, inviting, very nice, soft notes of everything you might enjoy. Because if you like ginger, it's soft and wonderful notes of ginger. If you like lemon and citrus notes, it's nice notes of citrus and it's inviting. This is also like curry because we all have had really spicy curry and we also had bad curry. If you enjoy curry food, you've had bad ones out there.
Yeah.
But this is also inviting for curry. But I'm realizing I don't enjoy curry as a drink.
Nice.
And when I drink it, I think of food now. Like I'm thinking I want to eat. Like I'm hungry now. I want to eat.
What would you pair it with?
I would think with a nice like vegetable curry. There's a nice little. I say Indian church, but that was racist. That's not what it's called. I apologize. But there is. I forgot their religion is called, but there's a church not too far from here that they have to do vegetables. They only eat vegetables.
Okay.
There's but they make a phenomenal curry
Nice.
there, and it's exactly like this. It's not too overpowering. It has a nice kick to it. And it's filling, is inviting. But I feel like that I want to eat that with this. A little
That's
bit of
good.
rice.
Yeah. I like changing our mentality about beer, right? Our industry is covered with 6-pack beer that's being sold, for the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
What I am attempting to do is I'm attempting to replace the wine bottle that you would pair with dinner with this really fine beer, right? So I think that this one would go really well with like a peanut sauce,
Like a Thai peanut sauce.
yeah, something that doesn't necessarily need the double spices, but it has a note that can remind the palate of something else.
That's beautiful. What I find my palate lacking is the comparisons. You want salty and savory. Like you want something to pair the offset of the flavors, and that's why I think I'm lacking on my note of having more curry. Cause I just want to eat more curry now. I'm like,
Yeah.
the peanut sauce has a nice little sweet, savory
Yes.
offset to the beer.
And so that peanut sauce will again, it'll ground the palate, and then you can play off the spices on top of that.
Like a cello with full.
Yeah, like
Full sound.
like you're learning the cello, right? And you're getting a little bit better at it. Your dream of being this thing is now on earth, and you have a cello, and you have to spend some time with it.
Yeah.
And you're having to learn your craft, right?
Oh, that's beautiful. I do like it. I just want to eat something with it. Maybe a peanut sauce. I think what I want to piggyback on something you said, just to replace the wine. I've been getting a lot of flack from just not like we're a show, we're a small show, so it's not like we're getting bombarded by a lot of people who don't like my statements. But what I've been saying for the last few weeks is, I think beer is more complicated, in my opinion, than wine.
Okay.
Not the process, not the making process, but the palate that you could invite people. And I think the learning curve for people to enjoy beer is so much shorter than for the learning curve to enjoy wine.
That makes sense.
And what I think with that, what I'm trying to explain is beer. Generically in our culture, you just enjoy it, right? People drink it just to drink it, right? Is it good between maybe whiskey or something, right? But then when you really get into it, say your local craft beer scene, now it gets a little more complicated, right? Because now the palate expands, but it's still not a big entry. Like, it's not a sharp entry, because you have your base beer whatever base beer you enjoyed, they can match that. Once they match what you enjoyed, they can start entering different things that you might enjoy as well. And that entry curve is lower. But I feel like there's more you can do with beer than wine.
Yeah, I think the dynamics of beer are totally different from the dynamics of wine, right? The dynamics of wine is you're going to be subjected to the style of grapes, the terroir, time in the barrel, and then, you know, like astringency that you're pulling, or tannins that you're pulling from the grape skin, you know, where the sweetness starts and the alcohol stops, that kind of stuff. And beer has a wider range because of the things that we can do to it. I'm not saying you can't do the same with wine. I'm just saying historically people haven't added things to wine. Like we're talking about adding 30 different spices to a beer.
Yeah.
You know? Actually, I think here at Small Brew Pub, this beer would pair really well with the pork belly. I'm gonna go put in an order of pork belly for you, just to see where your palate.
I think we're phenomenal. With that note, I do want to thank you, Small Brew Pub. First of all, you guys make what's it, the pepper pilsner?
Black pepper pills.
Black pepper pills, which is delicious. And I heard nothing phenomenal. I heard everything's phenomenal about the food, and I'm about to try some food here too. So I'm excited. But thank you for letting us come here record. You guys are the best. You guys, if you haven't been here in the Bishop Bar area, you need to come check these people out. They do a lot of great things, and they're really nice people in here, and they make some good beer, some badass food, which we're about to try.
One of my favorite things about Small is it's a neighborhood pub, right? And to launch a product line like mine, it needs a neighborhood, because I'm trying to reach and build a community around creative, esoteric beers that's not like the beers that you would find on most shelves, right? To buy a beer like one of my beers, you actually have to come in store and buy it, and hopefully I can tell you a great story. So this one's the next beer.
The citrus?
Yeah. How you want to lead into that?
Well, I do want to ask a question.
Okay.
Because I know we cut off a conversation earlier in the podcast about not self-worth, but more of just representation and discovery, right?
Okay.
And I have this guy. We had a little bit of that conversation before when we first met.
Okay.
And there was a point of view where I was saying, being left alone, let us be our own devices, and you had a wonderful point about reach.
Yes.
And I was wondering, is there a correlation between the brewery aspect of it and your reach as well?
Okay.
You feel like the reaches our reach is limited as a
Wow.
I'm Latin, and obviously you're black.
Well, yeah. I mean, when it comes down to the minorities, right? I believe that craft beer would like to tell you that minorities don't drink beer. Well, that's a lie. You know, we drink a lot of beer. Our communities are heavy beer drinkers, right? Now, what we're talking about is how do we reach those people with our specialty products, right? And the truth is that the craft beer industry has damn near forgotten about those people, just like the high-end food chain has left people that's minorities in food deserts, right? And it's not that those people are not interested in eating better, right, or drinking better. Is that the supply chain has deemed those channels not worthy of the spend, the delivery. So what gets delivered into a food desert looks totally different than what's getting delivered at Whole Foods, right?
Completely.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the challenges, and I think that just just personally, our community has dealt with that in our own way. We like to be left alone, as you would say, but I think that has a cap, you know. That has a cap because it keeps us kind of behind the curve, and we don't want to be behind the curve. We don't want to not be able to participate in the innovations that our society has to offer.
Yeah.
But the dollar, like if you're following the dollar, a lot of the capital isn't being funneled into the minority community.
No, it's been forever. It's been like that forever, right? Mm-hmm. Especially for Latino and Black communities. It's been like that forever. Growing up, I was my last few podcasts ago. My parents was on. We talked about growing up. We drank malt liquor. That was what's established in our community. Mm-hmm. You know, and I made a joke. It was like, I don't understand how you can make a malt liquor for 40 cents. That's 64 ounces. Like, what is in it? I don't get it. But that was promoted. There was all the signs. Where I have my mentality of being left alone, not that we don't want to be educated in what's going on around us, be educated what's around us, but I wanted to bring back this identity of the Harlem Revolution, you know, Black Wall Street, you know, Latin Harlem, like where we were self-reliant on ourselves, but also well-educated, you know.
Yeah, I think that every culture has these defining moments, right? And I really would like to see the media kind of, like you were saying, to leave us alone so that we can establish those things, right?
Well, they do take everything from us. Like I had a conversation with another wonderful man, NTX_beer, Jerry, about the small controversy of Cinco de Mayo.
Oh yeah, that's
with breweries, a lot of breweries, big and small, take from that culture of Mexican culture, but they do not contribute to Mexican culture.
I think that it's a marketing thing, right? And for me, I've always been very conscious of this. I'm a black man, right? But not only am I black, I carry blackface wherever I go. And
the Megyn Kelly bullshit.
And because of that, right? That requires people to respond to me out of their subversion or not subversion, right? And so, for me, the change that we're going to see in America starts with us as minorities, right? And yes, we can punctuate the fact that, you know, like the capitalistic spend isn't in our communities, right? But we also have to hold ourselves accountable to build ourselves up, right? So that we can create our own renaissance, right? Mm-hmm. Because people are paying attention, but
the Harlem Renaissance. I said that right. I misspoken earlier.
Yeah, but Renaissance matches all cultures, right? It's not just about Harlem, and it's not just about the Latino culture, right? It's everything. And craft beer is going through a renaissance now. For the longest time, craft beer has turned a blind eye to the dollars that could be in the minority community. And all you're seeing now is you're seeing that market through Cinco de Mayo or whatever.
The Day to Day, they had that.
Or through hip hop, you know, when it comes to beer cans, you know, you're seeing things like Biggie Smalls and you're seeing these cultural references. However, you know, the dollars aren't being invested, right, into our communities. And it starts with banks, right? It starts with entrepreneurs, right? Such as myself, such as you. So yeah, we carry the torch for our community, but we can't forget that the world around us has decided not to put as much dollars in our pocket, not to quite fund us like they do mainstream America. And there's nothing wrong with that. We just have to be aware of it.
I think I heard a statement earlier, and it was mostly reference to the poor man. And when I hear poor, I think of us, you know, minority groups, Latinos, blacks. But the poor man has to work twice as hard for half the pay and half the distance.
Yeah, That's cause for revolution.
Yeah. But we do work twice as hard. But I do want to compliment you because you did not change my perspective. Like I feel like we need to change automatically and try to reach further than we are. We're reaching further.
Yeah.
But it's not about just self, because I do have this stern mentality of, we're gonna take care of ourselves. We're gonna learn about the world around us, and we're gonna bring it back to ourselves and redevelop ourselves.
One of the greatest,
but that's limited. There's limited knowledge there. There's limited reach there, like you were saying.
Yeah, you have to know your boundaries. You have to know your adversary. You have to know the climate which that you're working in. Like if you want to start a business, what you do is you research that business first, right? And so same thing when you're dealing with race relations, you have to know the things that you're going to be coming up against, right? And that's just so that you can understand the climate, so that you can prepare to climb a mountain that you may have already seen coming, right? And I think that one of the greatest quotes that I heard is to be the change that you require, right? And so what that means is that journey starts with you, right? Stop accepting less of a salary than your peers. That's a very strong statement.
That's a very strong statement,
right? Because as long as you accept salaries less than your peers, then the world continues as always, right? But you also have to be strong enough to say, you know what, I'm gonna quit this job, and I'm gonna do it in a very copacetic way, right? But here's the reason why. I'm seeing my peers, right, those who's driving forklifts around this brewery, make more than your quote unquote mascot, and so you're a head brewer, you're a brewmaster, right? You like to use that title when it's convenient for you, but this situation isn't convenient for me, and I'm no longer happy with that. So we have to be the change that we require, and I think that that's what we talk about when we're sitting around with our fathers. We can have this conversation, because it's very fresh on your brain, it's very fresh on my brain. But at the end of the day, I'm still trying to sell beer.
I'm still trying to sell myself on this podcast. It's everything to sell, but it's an interesting way on perspective.
Yeah.
And then we touched on it earlier too about the dinner table with family, right? Mm-hmm. It's not my family didn't want to do better. It's not like my family didn't want me to do better either. It's just that we have different priorities. I grew up in a neighborhood where most of my peers didn't make it out of high school. Most of my peers got locked up or passed away.
All right.
I didn't have an opportunity, or not to say woe was me, but that was my parents' mentality. Like at the end of the day, you don't come home, we're gonna talk about finances. It's like when you leave this house, you do whatever you take to make it back to this house.
Yeah.
And that was the mentality I grew up in. It was like you leave here, you do whatever it takes to make it home. You fight, you claw your way, you run, you just make it home.
Yeah.
You just make it back here. Everything else will be fine. And
that's the climate, right? That's definitely the climate. I grew up in the same type of environments and climates, but this is very relevant to the beer journey that we're taking here.
Oh, beautiful!
Because we start with an entity that's in the sky, in the cosmos. We bring that down with the strike of the gong, right? The strike of the gong, as I say on the bottle, is very ethnic, right? Now the next one is Citrus Strut.
Beautiful name.
Citrus Strut is like the reference to jazz, right? Citrus Strut is also first cello reaches versiola, right?
Oh, wow.
When the instrument and the person is in tune, right? And one of the things that, let me have your glass. Let me have that one.
Oh, this one?
Yeah. One of the things that I like about what I'm attempting to do here is that I'm attempting to tell my personal story through beer, right? And
oh, wow.
I like music. So if first cello was that individual with his first cello, he's going to start by playing the lower registers, right? The beer itself will be fuller body. It'll be less nuance. Citrus Strut to me is first cello reaches Versiolo, right? When that person can now join the symphony orchestra and have his own solo, right? And so what you're going to get is you're going to get a lighter body. You're going to get a breadth of citrus. Lime notes are going to come forward, right? And the beer will have all of the elegance of the upper registers, right? But you don't get that in life unless you've been through some challenges. Your concepts in the world had to develop on this earth, and you had to sweat with your instrument in order to know it. That's what Citrus Strut.
It's funny how conversations kind of go hand in hand, because I felt like I had this conversation yesterday.
Okay.
About my younger self versus myself now. But before I go any further with that, I want to try it. You mind if I smell that one?
Yeah,
real quick?
you can taste it too.
I mostly want to smell it because, yeah, it smells richer. This one, the Citrus Strut.
Mm-hmm.
It smells richer. And
You want to read it?
Yeah, show off my skills.
Just keep putting you on the spot here.
Blessed with lemons, ginger, orange, and lime, this ale has wild side that overall reverberates.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I can smell. It's more exciting. Yeah.
Sorry.
Now come on in.
I didn't want to interrupt.
No, you're fine. Perfect. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is the beef belly, and I think it'll pair well with the curry, since you were begging for food with the curry.
I can't wait to go back for it. But I had a
Nice.
small sip of the citrus, and it's similar. So it's so intriguing. Like,
You want to try that one again too?
yeah, it's a rare chance you could do it back to back like this, but I feel like this is better. It's more inviting.
Yeah.
There's no real tartness to it. It's more of a savory note to it, and a flavor to it that invites all the way from start to finish.
Yeah. The cello's no longer playing. Mary Had a Little Lamb, is it?
This is still good. No, they're both good. But this is something I know I will like because I like lemons, and you have that nice little tart hit, which is not too overpowering. It's nice. I enjoy it. But this is an inviting symphony of people together, and you could have a little bit of everything that you might enjoy together.
Yeah. I like that you use the word together, because that's one of the driving factors behind my project. It's the notion of creating together, right? And to be a beer maker, right? That's not in the brewery. I don't have a space of my own, right? So I'm trusting the people around me, the community around me, right, to come together. So what I'm working on is this concept of creating together, right? And Small Brew Club has been great for that. Cedar Creek Brewery has been great for that, because what we're doing together is we're being that community that the African American or the minority community may not always have, which is just a little help, you know.
An ally.
Yeah, an ally, or a mentor, you know, or someone that can talk to you about financing, that can talk to you about budgeting, that say, hey, don't throw your money away on those Gucci slippers. You know. So
I had a mentor earlier in my life. I'm lucky enough to have several mentors earlier in my life. Again, I always say this to all my mentors. I don't know what they saw in me. I was a piece of shit.
Did they have Gucci slippers?
None of them did.
If they could afford it, that's fine.
They all could afford it. All my mentors.
Well, they needed it. They needed some Gucci slippers. Did you gift them some Gucci slippers?
I couldn't afford it legally. Couldn't afford it legally. No, but you need that partnership. You need that work with people. And people have more experience than you in certain scenarios, and they can guide you a little faster.
Absolutely.
You could learn everything else you want on your own, but it takes time. It takes a lot of failure along the way too.
Yeah.
But if someone could guide you away from the failure, like, this is what I've learned, so you can overskip it.
Yeah, your life could change in a 15-minute conversation. There's a documentary on Netflix that's called Peter and the Farm, and Peter talks about this concept of sudden change. And he's an artist that lost his fingers. Sudden change.
Yeah, devastating. Yeah, that's real sudden change. Real
Sudden change. And so, and the same is true with a job, right? The same is true with the stray bullet. The same is true with opportunity, right? Your life could change in a 15-minute conversation of what sort, right? And so the question, since we're following this vein, the question for minorities is, how can we get to the table with some of these conversations?
That's a tough part because it's hard for us to just get to the table, right? And why do you overcome that? That's a conversation or complicate, like a thought process I've had many times in my own validity. What I would want to say, and I've said this many times, is for me as a Latin man, I look white on the outside looking in.
Okay.
I'm more fair-skinned than my family. More fair-skinned than a lot of Latinos. I'm tall. I'm also, not to brag, but when I was young, I was real handsome.
You lost your handsome?
I lost it. When you go bald, you lose a few knocks of your handsomeness, and you gain about 200 pounds.
I think there's someone out there for you.
There's always someone for everybody, man. Doesn't mean I'm handsome. No, but all joking aside, as I have a little more, on the outside, I have a more approachable thing, and that's the thing I hate to say. I'm more approachable because when you look at a Mexican person or a black man, they're not people may say they love everybody, but they approach people differently.
Yeah,
that's tough to overcome. How do you overcome that? How do you overcome that instinctive prejudice of people?
You have to be confident in yourself first. You
as an individual, yeah.
Yeah, as an individual, like I say, you have to be able to take blackface wherever you go, or brownface wherever you go.
You have to take. You can't change it.
That's life. We can't turn on the TV and feel bad about ourselves because we don't have the boobs of Barbie and the car of Ken.
Fair enough. This is true. It's very true.
And that's the society and the culture in which we live in. I say it all the time. If you want an African American experience, go to church on Sunday. However, those pockets of society isn't for everyone, right? And so what we're in process of doing as minorities is to manage our humanity within a society that has turned a blind eye to our dignity, right? And so what that causes us to do is it causes us to believe in ourselves, right? And I think that's just quite natural, right? The Jewish community had to do the same thing. German community, every community has to do that.
Irish were persecuted for years.
So we can't single ourselves out, but we can build ourselves up, Like I said, spend your money where it counts, right? Don't accept a salary that's not equal to your peers. Now that may be tough, because there's so many things in place. But if you do accept that salary, be the best. Show up, give your 100%.
Definitely.
And invest in yourself in other ways.
Picking back on that statement is when I trained. I was lucky enough in my short time in my career, I've trained a lot of other techs. Mm-hmm. I've always said my number one thing is know your value. So as a tech, this is where your base value is with no experience. Okay. But if you have to take less where you can learn the most.
I agree with that.
So you could grow the most and grow your skill set so you could take that somewhere else. But I would.
That's called personal development.
And it took me years to figure it out. But
I'm actually curious to see what you think about this pairing.
So what I would want to do first, I would like to eat it without drinking first.
Okay.
Just to get a flavor for it. What I will do is also take this pickle off it because I'm not a pickle.
You're not a fan of pickles, man. I'm totally going to take this pickle. This pickle is great. I should have got a napkin or something.
I got my tongue. It's something really weird. I shouldn't say that. That's something horrible. First of all, this is delicious.
Yeah, this is really good.
You know what makes me more excited? Because I really think this is gonna pair well with the juicy and fattiness of the beef, and the cheese, and it's like has some salt and pepper on it. Like, it's delicious. It's not as perfect as I want it to be, but it works.
I agree. I definitely agree.
I think this is a really good food pairing. Like, this works well with this beef. I think you're right. The peanut sauce will be a better offset.
I think the peanuts also be a little better offset. Right now we're getting double acid. We're getting some acid from the sauce on the beef. I like the fact that, you know, like the smokiness from the beef is pairing well with the spices. You know, I'm getting like the beer kind of completely changed for me. It's now it tastes more green. You know, like you can just get the fresh chili notes.
I was gonna say, you get the nice. I think that's what I'm saying. It works well with the beef because I think the fat helps offset some of that smoky flavor. The beef already has that smoky flavor as well, and the curry comes in the back end. If you eat it, you just eat it and then drink it. The curry finishes it off more profoundly than you do when you drink it, but it's still good. I think it goes hand. I think this would be a good barbecue beer too, maybe.
Oh. Okay, so there you have it. You have beer paired with food. Yeah, I've succeeded in life. I can stop right now.
You definitely succeeded in life, but you got way more to go than this podcast. Wow, that I think it changed my whole perspective of the beer because I didn't dislike it. I think it definitely has to be paired with something. I think this does it. It just makes me want to drink the beer more.
What would you pair it with from a Latino perspective?
So I would definitely do our pernil, which is a pork shoulder, oven roasted pork shoulder. It's really it's made with like a good chunk of fat. But you don't eat the fat, but it's that flavor of the fat comes through, and there's a really not too spicy. It's a very mild roast that you do. You know,
I like that.
Savory roast. I should say savory roast. I think it will pair well with this.
That's good. Now we can move into the next beer.
That was good. That was delicious.
I actually really enjoyed this journey we're on today.
I think this is my first beer journey that we've had on the podcast.
Oh, with food?
Yeah, no, just an actual story. So we've tried many of beers on the podcast.
Okay.
But it's just random assortment of beers. Different breweries, different people. And then even when when we hang out with breweries, we try to pair their beers. It's just array assortments. There's no real story to involved with this. This is the first story
time. I like it. I really like beer pair with food. And that's kind of been one of my distractions with the industry, right? The industry does a great job at marketing beer for sports.
Beer for public events, definitely.
But the beer dinner sessions, they're a little far in between. But when they're done well, they're done exceptionally well, right? And so like me pushing back from production brewery to do specialty stuff, which I was already doing specialty stuff at the Barrel House and things like that. But to push back and to make it my focus and to find myself and to approach beer the way I personally approach beer, not from the marketing standpoint, right? But from a maker's standpoint. That's really what I'm after.
It's real personal. You know, talking about food pairing, there's a really salud. First of all, I'm excited. There was little to no head when you poured this, so I'm a little nervous.
All right. as you drink this beer, I'll tell you about this beer. We have now reached the tragedy in our symphony.
Okay.
The name of this beer is Warflower, right? And the reason why I call it Warflower is because it's first cello aged to dryness with prickly pear. Prickly pear is the fruit of the cactus, the flower of the cactus.
Okay.
Right? It's a very tender fruit. If you touch the spines, they'll actually coil in, right?
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay.
And if you split it, the fruit will bleed. All right? And historically, prickly pear was used as a natural border during wartime so that the adversary, the enemy, wouldn't cross that border, right? Going back to this experience, the tragedy in our symphony, because every great symphony has a tragedy, right?
That's the whole storytelling part of it.
Yeah. So Aztec and Mayan culture, the Latino culture, used to do these things called flower wars, where they would fight with neighboring tribes to sacrifice those that was captured to their gods.
Yeah.
Right. And so if we're an entity that starts off in the cosmos, we're brought down to Earth. We get very good at living this life on Earth, but at some point we're gonna pass. That's what Warflower is. It's the tragedy in our story here.
Again, like I said, this is the first time I had a storytelling with my beer session, and I didn't like it. This is a really complicated beer this is where my lack of beer knowledge comes to fruition, where I know it's complicated, I taste it, it's delicious, but I have a lack of experience and words to describe it. Now, it's nothing like the first cello, it's nothing like the citrus strut, but it's also nothing like the ginger. Like, this is its own entity in entirety. And if you would never have said to me the base was that
First cello.
The first cello, excuse me, sorry. I would never have guessed that. It's completely its own entity. It's really unique flavors to it that's enjoyable, first and foremost, well balanced. I think all your beers are well balanced, but this is really well balanced, and it works from start to finish. It's just my lack of own description, my own beer knowledge is lacking here for me to describe it.
What about the aroma?
That's why I was scared. So the aroma is inviting, but this is where I thought it was complicated, because it doesn't smell like anything I could pick on. You can smell, of course, when you smell a sour, you can smell that kind of sour profile, but there's undertone of things underneath it, and maybe it might be the prickly pear. I've never had prickly pear. I don't know what it tastes like or smells like. I never cooked with it. Don't know anything about it besides the story you just said.
Shiner makes a prickly pear beer.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Never had it.
Well, you should find it.
I should find it. I need to try it. So this is also where my lack of culinary skills also, because I never had prickly pear. So when you never had a food before, you don't know what the food on its own is, and when you have it in a drink or another dish, it's hard to describe the food that you're trying to taste because you never had it on its own.
Have you had the cactus plant by itself, the elotes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's going to have that same fleshy kindness, right? That's not. It's not cucumber and it's not aloe vera. It's chopped up cactus. Is elotes? It's not elotes. It's something else. What's the Spanish name for it?
Well, it's first of all, it's a Mexican thing.
Okay.
No,
is that Spanish?
It's Spanish. It's all the same.
Okay.
So, well, I want to bring up the later, but we're all, in my opinion, we're all the same, but we all have different histories.
Absolutely.
But it's a Mexican dish that's I've had it grilled before, but it's made in various different ways. Mm-hmm. It's I think your first word is beautiful. It's very fleshy fruit, but it's also savory, delicious, and sweet. But it's definitely for a certain amount of people. It's not gonna be for everybody.
It's not for everybody.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It definitely has. If you're really weird about mouthfeel, it's gonna be a weird mouthfeel to it, by far.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
It's not elotes. The elotes is the corn.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Elotes is the mayo corn hot sauce mix that they do.
There's a name for it. I'm forgetting it.
I'm gonna Google it. I also have Mexican friends. I can also ask. I put it on there.
Hold on, you're not white, you're not Mexican. What are you?
I'm Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm Puerto Rican Dominican.
I like the references to community and culture, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason why I like community and culture is still going back to what I'm attempting to create. Is I'm creating my own community and culture through the people that don't have a problem with me. Right?
I want to compliment you on that because you exactly are doing that. Like I said when we started this podcast, is you have an external fan base who've seen you work or seen your work and love the work and continue that culture that you build. You may not have direct connection with these people, but there's a culture of people that I've met that made me want to follow and know who you are.
Thank you.
Because there's a culture behind it. Like, well, we're gonna collab with smaller home brewers, and then this is we know someone who's done it. You know, someone had a career and they say, you know what, and I worked at a brewery. You know what, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna go my own route. Yeah. And you build a culture, you build a trend, and there's a trend going on in a positive direction. So
it's not easy, and that's why I say that what we're attempting to accomplish as the people group, right, is to tell our own story, to be our own legacy, right, and you don't always have support, right. You have people that's interested, but. You know, like when you're on the front lines and the media is looking at and exposing all of your holes and all of the things that you're doing wrong, and they're throwing the book at you, so to speak. You know, that's the reason why some of the front runners fail, and some of the people coming in the next wave succeed, because the people in the front, they took the bullet first.
Definitely.
You know. And I think that my project and what I'm working on should be that type of encouragement, not only for myself, but for the breweries that I have an opportunity to work with, and the people that I have an opportunity to work with. You know, what I'm having to do is to put myself aside, to look at myself transparently in the mirror and find how I fit in this world around me. You know, and that's all anyone can ask for, you know.
No, exactly. And I can tell you, like I said, I'm really, really excited that we had this conversation. It was a really, really in-depth conversation, and multiple facets, because this is a really, really phenomenal beer journey that we went on.
Thank you.
And I love the concept of a beer story, because all this together definitely tells the beer story. And I think if you ever do a food pairing, I will be there.
It's coming.
I will be there recording, because I also want to try the food that you would pair with it, because I think it'll be phenomenal.
It's coming. I'm looking at doing a pairing of this here pretty soon. The missing beer in the puzzle is the Etude. It's a sour beer that's back sweetened, right?
Okay, that's interesting.
It's called a Belgian style Faro, but instead of using sugar to back sweeten with, I use hickory honey.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
How would that taste?
So it's one of those beers that would taste like a sweet tart.
I wonder how that tastes. Well, I am excited to even try that one. I'm excited for the food pairing. I'm excited for a lot of things. What I want to say is you are inspiring a lot of people.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, people you haven't made in contact with. They tell your story with enthusiasm because they love you and they love where you're going. So okay. I want to say, encourage you to keep doing the same work. Keep doing what you're doing.
I need it.
You know, anywhere.
It's not always easy out there.
No, it's not. So anywhere we can help you promote it, whether it be pictures or coming to an event, and so we can live stream it and promote you. I'm telling you what, I promise from me to you, we'll be there as much as we can be.
Yeah. Tell people buy the beer.
Definitely. Where can we buy the beer?
Right now you can buy the beer. You can reserve it online. Now that'll lets me know you're coming, and you can pick it up at Small Brew Pub.
Small Brew Pub, Blackmanbrew.com.
Blackmanbrew, Blackman Brewing, however you want to spell it.
You can find them on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
I'm on Twitter, but not that much.
Instagram, definitely on Instagram. What I want to say, Barrett, I appreciate the conversation, brother.
Thank you.
Also, when you guys get an opportunity in the Dallas area, come down to Small Brew Pub. They're phenomenal. The one sandwich I had was delicious. So also you come down here and get the
Beef bellies.
The beef bellies, thank you. Thank you. I forgot what I was eating. But you also, when you come down here, you also could get a chance to buy some Blackmanbrew. This is a phenomenal story of a real beer journey that you have to experience. It's hard to describe, and I do apologize I don't have the intellect to describe it, but it's a journey that I think everybody needs to experience. So definitely come do that. Follow Blackmanbrew on Facebook. Follow Dallas Beer Talk on Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, everywhere you find this. I do appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Everybody have a safe weekend. Take a lift. Peace.
Peace.